Hi everybody, my name is Tina Pham and today I will be talking about ecstasy. So what is ecstasy? Ecstasy is a common illegal drug right after cannabis, or better known as marijuana. It is known to be the second most commonly used illegal substance in many countries all over the world. So the chemical structure for ecstasy is 3,4 methylene dioxy methamphetamine, or better known as MDMA. Other names that we might know for this drug is XTC, love drug, or these days Molly. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but in a lot of songs these days, whenever they're referring to ecstasy, they do use the term Molly. And I always wondered, like, where did that even come from? And after doing some research, I came across an article that said that Molly just came from the simple word molecule. It's just a fun fact. So ecstasy increases the activity of three brain chemicals that we've discussed before. That's dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. So whenever taking ecstasy and it mixes with dopamine, it would cause increased energy and activity. Norepinephrine would increase your heart rate and your blood pressure, and serotonin, it's important for regulating and processing things like your mood and your memory. So we'll talk about how that comes to play whenever you experience those side effects. So the feelings that you would get whenever you're on ecstasy is, an over sense of feeling good, euphoria, sensory excitation. So for instance, it's common that it's used in raves or clubs and whatnot. Imagine the music in there. The music would serve as an enhancer for the drug because you are feeling, overly stimulated. Also, you would feel high energy, high endurance, sexual arousal, and openness, as well as empathy. And on that note, if you guys have ever heard of liquid courage whenever you're drinking alcohol, well, alcohol could be ecstasy in this instance, because whenever you're on ecstasy, you have this openness and this social butterfly effect, more so than you ever would without the drug. So what are some routes of administration and dosage? You can take it in capsule form, liquid form, or powder form. Powder form, you would snort it or whatnot. The most commonly way of using it would be capsule form. And there are over 16 ecstasy compounds out there. Typically, the dosages are from 50 to 150 milligrams. And it can be mixed with, MDMA's sister drug, MDEA and MDA. With that being said, since it is, a powder that's mixed up in a capsule, these buyers aren't really knowing what's in there, and many times it could be mixed with not only the sister drugs of MDMA, but things like caffeine, ketamine, methamphetamine, and synthetic drugs like bath salts, which you may or may not know, but that definitely has made its way around the news, and it's not something you want to get into. Also, another, on that note about the capsules, something I saw that was interesting was the fact that many times whenever these distributors are making these capsules, they have a smiley face on them, or a butterfly, or a heart, a Chanel sign, the peace sign. And that's really weird to me because, it seems like it would attract kids. But we know from research that it attracts young adults and college students. So I don't know, that just didn't sit easy with me, the fact that it was just so appealing to kids, or could be appealing to kids. So a history about ecstasy. In 1914, it was first used in Germany as an experimental substance. In the 1970s, it was rediscovered and used by other professionals like psychiatrists and therapists, and they used it as an aid in psychotherapy. In the 1980s, they started using it in individual counseling, group counseling, couples counseling, and the reason for this is because they wanted to give these clients or patients the ability to feel open to things, empathy, interested in new ideas, that kind of thing. So they started distributing it to them. So in between the years of 1977 and 1985, it was said that about 500,000 doses were given to patients, and those patients were, people who were struggling with depression, trauma, and other psychological conditions. So earlier we talked about how, a popular place that, someone would take this drug is in a club or a rave, a party, some like places where you would be social. So that's how it started, was that originally it was in Europe, as we mentioned, and then when that club scene moved over to America and other places in the world, it started becoming a thing to take ecstasy. By 1985, it was classified as a Schedule 1 drug by the DEA, and if you guys remember, Schedule 1 is whenever they say that, okay, this drug is high for abuse, and it doesn't have any kind of medical use, and it obviously is illegal and cannot be distributed. So the other interesting thing that I saw is that it reaches out to college students and young adults, and they did say that those are their main groups or target groups. Not only that, but a lot of people that were young adults, not only were they college students, but they were students that lived in low-income neighborhoods where they turned to these drugs in order to be able to feel happiness or, euphoria. So some other side effects that I want to talk about is the negative side effects. So after taking ecstasies, these are the acute side effects you can have. You can have dry mouth, jaw clenching, dizziness, drowsiness, lack of appetite, restlessness, especially in your legs, thirst, hot flashes, and also muscular tension. And with that, it's usually in the lower back or your limbs, as well as insomnia, so not being able to sleep. So some chronic ones are serotonin depletion. So that's like, your serotonin's not able to do its job anymore because, it's so used to doing or distributing like large amounts of serotonin throughout your body that it's just not working the same anymore. Chronic psychosis, cardiovascular issues, hypertension, tachycardia, musculoskeletal issues, hypoglycemia, and death, sometimes death. So addiction. So I had a mixed review about this. Some articles said that, it's not very high, but of course it is. You're able to be addicted to this drug, ecstasy. Another one said that there aren't really any because the crash is so intense that people don't really want to do it again. Of course, we know when it comes to drugs, that's not always the case, but it was very significant because in our book, you even had a terminology for it called Suicide Tuesday, which refers to that crash you get 2 or 3 days after you took the drug. So whenever you first take it, you're just overly stimulated, and by the time that, it's out of your system, your body just depresses. Basically, you get a crash. And they said that it's a lesser degree than it would be if you were withdrawing from other addictive drugs like cocaine or opioids, but it's still something that you don't want to experience. And right now there are no treatments specifically for ecstasy addiction, but they said that if someone wanted to try behavioral therapy to be able to stop the action of, taking ecstasy, then that might be helpful. Now, criminalization, I didn't see too much about, from academics resources talking about criminalization, but I assume that since it is a Schedule 1 drug, there would definitely be some consequences for it. Maybe not as extreme as opioids or cocaine, that kind of thing, but I feel like it would definitely be up there since it is a common illegal drug. So social costs, this I also didn't see very many numbers, but there are definitely things that can affect our society, such as, like we talked earlier about that sexual arousal. So sexual arousal, and then being considered to be one of those date rape drugs. If you go into a place like that and someone puts a drug in your drink and they might pursue you, that's extremely dangerous, and I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. Also, it can lead to fatalities or medical emergencies. Fatalities can be due to things like liver issues, brain damage, getting a fever, and it's not just like any other fever, like you're getting sick, but like fevers that you're going from 98.6 degrees the average to 106 degrees, where your brain cells can start deteriorating. Also, cardiovascular disease and suicide, so using it improperly. Also, some other things could be overdose or accidentally just taking this drug, and that's it, and you could just die from it because it's illegal for a reason. So that is all of the information that I have for you about ecstasy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.